Clint Eastwood is more than a Hollywood icon. He's a living legend whose life story continues to raise eyebrows and spark curiosity. From the moment he burst onto the scene with a gruff demeanor and piercing stare, he stood out. But behind the confident screen presence, there was an undercurrent of struggle, persistence, and a hunger for success. How did an ordinary young man with modest beginnings transform into a titan worth hundreds of millions of dollars? And what secrets about his personal life still linger, shocking those who think they already know him? Many fans see Clint Eastwood as the ultimate cowboy figure or the insightful director who snagged multiple awards. But his empire stretches well beyond Hollywood sets. Expansive mansions in California, hidden retreats in Idaho, a lavish car collection that ranges from vintage gems to the sleekest of modern supercars. The scope of his wealth is astonishing. Even more intriguing are the controversies that swirl around him. Some hail him as an artistic genius. Others criticize him for a seemingly endless string of romances and breakups, as well as for bold political statements that riled entire segments of the public. What's the real story? Let's pull back the curtains and journey through the twists, turns, and hidden layers in Clint Eastwood's remarkable life. Born on May 31st, 1930 in San Francisco, Clint Eastwood didn't come from a privileged background. His father worked as a steel salesman, and the family frequently relocated around California in search of better opportunities. Money was tight, and life was far from glamorous. From a young age, Eastwood learned to value hard work. He tackled various odd jobs, lifeguard, paperboy, grocery clerk, just to contribute to the household. No one imagined that this quiet, lanky teenager would one day conquer Hollywood. While he wasn't a standout in school, one thing set him apart: an imposing height and a certain rugged confidence. Classmates remember him as courteous but reserved, sometimes seeming like he was lost in thoughts far more serious than those of other teenage boys. When he graduated, nobody anticipated a future for him in film. Yet fate intervened. After a stint in the military during the early 1950s, Eastwood was noticed by a Universal Studios assistant director purely by chance. With his tall frame and a face that could shift from friendly to intimidating in an instant, he had the looks Hollywood was always on the hunt for. Still, that discovery didn't immediately launch him into stardom. He was initially cast in minuscule roles, background characters, fleeting appearances on television shows, and lesser-known films. But Clint Eastwood refused to be discouraged. Between low-paying gigs, he studied acting. Determined to hone his craft, he observed other actors, mimicked the style of established names he admired, and made a silent promise to himself that he would do whatever it took to break through. Rawhide, a TV Western that started in 1959, was the first project that truly gave him some spotlight. Though far from an overnight success, that show lit a spark, hinting that Eastwood might have a destiny bigger than anyone realized at the time. The early 1960s saw a major shift. While American Westerns dominated a certain corner of the entertainment market, they were starting to feel repetitive to some viewers. Then came the so-called spaghetti westerns. Directed by visionaries like Sergio Leone, Eastwood found himself cast in a role that would define an entire era: the silent but deadly gunslinger. Movies like A Fistful of Dollars, 1964, For a Few Dollars More, 1965, and especially The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, 1966, sent shockwaves through the film world. These productions were raw, gritty, and refreshingly different from the polished Hollywood formula. They also introduced Eastwood's stoic style, making him an icon practically overnight. Audiences were captivated by the man with the squinted eyes and the cigar clenched between his teeth. Even critics who initially sneered at spaghetti westerns had to concede that something magnetic was happening on screen. Eastwood's newfound fame brought him a flood of offers. At one point, his salary for a single leading role soared into the millions, an astronomical figure for the time. Whether portraying tough cops or complex anti-heroes, he seemed to have an uncanny ability to hold viewers in the palm of his hand. Soon, he wasn't just acting. He was thinking about how to tell stories from behind the camera. In 1971, Eastwood made a daring leap into directing with Play Misty for Me, a psychological thriller that showcased his eye for tension and pacing. He followed it up with an increasingly diverse filmography, always aiming to push boundaries. In the early 90s, he created a masterpiece that merged old-school Western tropes with a moody, introspective style: Unforgiven. The film exploded at the box office and wowed critics, scooping up multiple Oscars, including Best Director for Eastwood. That success placed him firmly among the elite directors of Hollywood, a double threat, as both a leading man and a masterful storyteller. What might be even more remarkable is the consistent reinvention he has shown. In the 2000s, he directed Million Doll Baby, censored as requested, a touching yet gritty boxing saga that again captured critics' hearts and dominated awards season. Then came American Sniper in 2014, which blazed through the box office, grossing over $500 million worldwide. With a career like that, it's no wonder his fortune grew to the hundreds of millions. But while awards and acclaim kept piling up, the public remained equally fascinated by the man behind the legend, particularly his personal life. Money isn't everything, but Clint Eastwood's wealth is undeniably jaw-dropping. At one point, sources pegged his net worth around $375 million, although estimates have climbed higher or dipped lower depending on real estate fluctuations and ongoing movie deals. What's certain is that he has funneled those earnings into an impressive array of properties across the country, some widely reported, others shrouded in near secrecy. He owns a $25 million mansion in Pebble Beach, California, a prime spot known for its spectacular golf courses and mesmerizing ocean views. Rumor has it he spends a considerable amount of time there perfecting his swing and relishing the serenity that contrasts with the hustle of Los Angeles. Then there's his Bel Air mansion in Los Angeles, reputed to be worth over $30 million. Nestled among manicured lawns and featuring an outdoor pool designed for lavish get-togethers with Hollywood power players. But Eastwood's collection goes beyond coastal glam. He owns a property in Sun Valley, Idaho, a quieter mountain escape that resonates with the cowboy spirit he so often depicted on film. Surrounded by whispering pines and rolling hills, the estate includes a spacious log cabin aesthetic, complete with rustic charm and top-tier amenities. Locals say he sometimes appears in town unannounced, strolling with a relaxed air, happy to chat if approached politely. Yet perhaps the crown jewel is his Tahama estate in Carmel, California, sometimes spelled Tahama in certain references, featuring its own private golf course. This massive spread, reportedly worth tens of millions, allows him to enjoy the scenic California landscape in total privacy. It also hosts a high-end recording studio that he's used for dabbling in music projects, including jazz compositions he's personally fond of. And let's not forget Mission Ranch, a Carmel property he rescued from redevelopment. He turned it into a charming hotel with a classic vibe, a slice of old California that Eastwood carefully preserved. A passion for cars further highlights his taste for luxury. He's known to house vintage beauties like the 1932 Ford Roadster and the 1955 Cadillac Eldorado, each worth well into six figures, if not more. One especially famous piece of his collection is the 1972 Gran Torino, immortalized by his film Gran Torino. When he's not cruising in classics, he might opt for a sleek Tesla Model S or a Bentley Continental GT. By blending the old and the new, he showcases a sophisticated appreciation for engineering and design. The public often imagines that someone with this level of wealth might flaunt it at every turn. Yet Eastwood remains intriguingly reserved. Yes, he owns extravagant homes and fine automobiles, but he's typically more private about them compared to many other celebrities. Perhaps that's what keeps people guessing. A man who has it all but still seems more comfortable in a pair of worn jeans than a tuxedo. One might assume that a 90-something Hollywood luminary with decades of accolades would hang up his director's chair to enjoy a leisurely life. Clint Eastwood, however, appears to have little interest in a traditional retirement. Even in his 90s, he has continued directing and producing films, albeit at a slower pace. Projects like The Mule, 2018, and Richard Jewell, 2019, show that his eye for compelling drama hasn't dimmed. He remains fascinated by characters who struggle against enormous odds, exploring themes like duty, moral conflict, and redemption, ideas he's wrestled with throughout his career. Still, he has stepped back from starring roles to some extent. Where once he might have directed himself in front of the camera, he now focuses more on the storytelling aspect, giving younger actors a platform to shine under his direction. His children, including actor Scott Eastwood, represent another ongoing legacy. Some have already ventured into acting and filmmaking, occasionally working alongside their father or forging their own paths in the industry. Observers note that Clint Eastwood's behind-the-scenes conversations with his kids show a softer side, a supportive mentor encouraging them to find their voices. This generational handoff is subtle. Eastwood won't loudly proclaim that he's passing the torch, but the signs are everywhere, from cameo appearances by his family members in certain films to shared production credits that hint at a future in which the Eastwood name endures beyond him. Even so, fans wonder if he'll ever truly stop making movies. Given his track record for defying expectations, few would be surprised if he announced yet another project tomorrow. When not immersed in film, he devotes his time to music, particularly jazz and blues. He's composed or contributed music for several of his movies, proving that creative energy flows in more than one direction. In interviews, he occasionally jokes that music was his first love, but film paid the bills. And of course, there's golf. Eastwood's near obsession with the sport isn't exactly a secret. He's invested in multiple golf clubs, and once famously told a reporter that it's the perfect way to stay active without the wear and tear of more grueling exercises. After more than 6 decades in the public eye, Clint Eastwood remains both an open book and an enigma. He's outspoken on certain topics, quietly guarded on others. He's built an empire on tough guy roles, but has also proven himself a thoughtful, sensitive storyteller when he steps behind the camera. His personal life has been riddled with controversies, broken marriages, secret children, lawsuits, yet he retains a loyal fan base that views him as a piece of Hollywood history. Throughout it all, he has navigated a shifting industry, evolving from the gunslinger archetype to the revered director of emotionally resonant dramas. He's soared to the pinnacle of success, amassing an immense fortune and using it to curate a life few can even imagine. Luxurious mansions, exclusive golf courses, a parade of classic cars, and philanthropic ventures that quietly make a difference. These elements compose the mosaic of a man who is still, at heart, the product of modest working-class roots. So, who is Clint Eastwood at age 94? A visionary who refuses to settle, a man who continues to chase new possibilities, a father concerned about his family's future, a multi-hyphenate artist who hasn't lost his passion for spinning poignant stories that challenge audiences. At times, a public figure who ignites political debate with a single offhand comment. In the end, Clint Eastwood is neither purely hero nor villain. He's a living testament to complexity. A star who has stood the test of time yet keeps us on our toes. From the vantage of a sprawling Pebble Beach estate or a silent retreat in Idaho, he contemplates new projects, cherishes old friendships, and navigates personal issues that occasionally surge back into the headlines. Perhaps that's the final legacy of this Hollywood legend. Not just the Oscars, the money, or the extraordinary filmography, but the perpetual aura of intrigue that suggests there's always more to discover. If this glimpse into the myths and realities of Clint Eastwood caught your attention, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. The next deep dive might just uncover even more surprising twists about your favorite icons, and trust me, you won't want to miss it.